Oh, crap.
Oh,
Do.
Mm.
um, yeah, where Heather is coming in right now. So I like to make sure that we all get in and out on time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. Heather, it's so good to see you. We're admitting people are popping in as well. So I'm just gonna keep admitting as we go, but um hi everyone, I'm Chanaye and you are here at the Fireside Chat with Jessi and I'm so excited that y'all are here. Essentially, you probably like, what is a fireside chat? What is happening? A fireside chat for me, my definition is you are going to see Jessi and I have a conversation amongst ourselves and with you about operations. This is not meant to be a webinar. We're not doing a masterclass thing. You are not going to be doing death by slides. We don't have time for death by slides. You can see them. There might be a couple that might pop on your screen, but as soon as they come up, they will go down. We're not doing that all day long. So if you have thoughts, ideas, something, feel free to raise your hand. If you want to contribute to the conversation, we will probably be pulling you in. So this is your conversation. This is what you and I will make it, right? So if everyone is ready, I'll get you out of here well before the top of the hour, because I know that we all have meetings to go to, the next set of meetings to go to, right? And thank you for coming. So Jessi, do you have anything to say before I introduce you?
Super excited everyone's here. Thanks for having me.
Your people are here. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yay.
So let me introduce you to Jessi, but you guys probably don't need to know her as well. You probably know her better than I do. So Jessi helps team-based businesses and nonprofits eliminate operational chaos by implementing Asana. It's by building simple and effective systems. Jessi makes it easier to help teams work together, freeing up CEOs to live a balanced life, where also generating the revenue, the success, and the impact that they know is possible. Jessi and I are both operations people, so that's why I'm very, very, very excited to have this conversation with her, because we also approach things incredibly differently, but also the same. So I hope you guys can see that difference. Take it away, Jessi.
Awesome. It's my pleasure to introduce Chanaye. She is a dynamite entrepreneur at transforming business operations and processes for enhanced efficiency and profitability. She has a keen eye for improvement and passion for the future. She optimizes processes to boost morale, peace of mind, and the bottom line. Something that I really love to know about Chanaye is that she and I are both AmeriCorps alums. We could have a whole separate fireside chat all about that, and we both like to box.
Her and I have talked a couple of times. So I want to start us with we have an agenda, but when we think about I'm taking us off agenda already. When we think about operations and like how to change it, what is operations?
The steps that you follow to get stuff done. Your pathway, your plan, your map.
I think it's been interesting over the course of my business in the last year or so. I realized that a lot of business owners don't know what operations is and is not. So I usually think of operations as everything that is not finance. Do you have any like sort of hot takes around that?
Why not finance?
Well, because I think that money needs to go together. Like you need to be able, like you guys are like finance people and operations people have to talk to each other. So if they don't talk to each other, you're helping finance and finance is helping you. So I feel like those are two pillars that stand up by themselves.
The thing that comes after the money.
Yeah.
Or the thing that gets the money.
Or a thing that gets the money.
I see.
Yeah. So for me, operations is your HR, your sales, your marketing,
your software.
your software,
I think of software first.
of
Of
right?
course I do.
Which is one of the places where we're different, right? Yeah, like so I think of operations as everything else but finance because we
Mhm.
stack on top of each other. And then there's no finance is first and operations is second or vice versa.
Right.
So
I like that.
yeah, that's my spicy take
Mm.
for spicy take for the day. Anybody else have thoughts about operations? Like where does it live? What is in it or not in it? Feel
I
free.
agree. I agree with Jesse's assessment of it's getting stuff done, right?
Mhm.
And um, I do think that one of the most important aspects of getting stuff done is the utilization of people in getting stuff done, and that's a critical factor, especially in the global economy today. You know, part of operations should be ensuring that people, you're keeping the best people and you're
Mhm.
motivating them. So it's a really important to have the great tools to make it easier for those people to actually work together, and that's great to have those tools. And I think it's important to also invest in how the people are cared for and how you manage to ensure that um, they're going to want to stay, right? So
Well, and of course, and Scott is coming from the people side, the engagement
yeah,
Mhm.
side. So, you know,
yep.
we all have our
Makes sense.
Heather, I saw your comment about makes you think about whatever belongs in an SOP. And basically our entire business should be an SOP, which is both very, very daunting and intimidating. Um,
Yes.
because it doesn't get done, but that's another conversation. That's a whole other fireside chat. Um, so the whole point of today is we're talking about operations, yes, but we're really thinking about trying to go into further detail about when is it time to make a change
Mhm.
and what's happening in our businesses that makes it necessary to do that. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that Jessi and I talked about as we were kind of planning this and putting this together is what what are we afraid of, right? Change is absolutely
Mhm.
necessary, right? We talk a lot about what got you here won't get you there. You know, change is great. We have like whole industries about change management, but like there is like a fear of change. So what happens when we know that things have to change? This is for you, Jessi. What happens when we know
Mhm.
we need to change, but we haven't been?
We talk ourselves out of it. We talk ourselves out of it. We think about how hard it is. We think about, oh, but what if the thing we're moving to isn't as good? I
Mhm.
know this thing. My mom once taught me this saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. She was talking about my grandfather. It's weird.
Well, there's
But I think about that in change management. Like we're so comfortable in where we are and we don't know what the other thing is going to be. Is it truly going to be what we're told? Is it
Mhm.
really going to make things better for us? How much better is it going to make it for
Mhm.
us? And mentally, I think that we're kind of programmed to only want to move if the positive change is at least double what our current discomfort is, because then it's worth the shift. It can't just be a little bit better. It needs to be kind of a lot better to really get us motivated to take that leap.
think that that's a really great point too, because that also goes and shows how you and I approach sort of operations a little differently than each other, right?
Mm.
I start with feelings. How do you feel?
Mm.
Right? Like, which is funny because I'm not a feelings person, but yeah, I'm probably a little anti-feelings to be honest. But I
It's
start
okay.
with
They're messy.
which is weird because I'm like, how do you feel about that? That's like the first question, right? Like,
Mhm.
how does it feel to make that decision? How does it feel to
Mm.
use this? Like, I want to know when you're like absolutely like I can't stand this. I want you, I want to have like, I want to see like the big, big, big thoughts and the big, big, big feelings as like reaction points. And tell them a little bit more about your, like, you know, when things need to change, Jessi.
When I see people sort of spinning out and revisiting the same things over and over again, and I immediately just want to get in there and see it. I just got to see it for my own edification. Show me your screen. I'm constantly asking people to show me their screen and just like get in there and show me, oh, you've got 1,000 notifications. Well, let me show you about how to turn off the notifications so that it's less noisy for you. I just really want to put myself in their shoes.
Walk a mile in their shoes. I love that. Yeah, I think for me, I'm like, I think my version is like, oh, I want to feel your feelings since I don't really have that many. Like, let me feel your feelings. Let me feel your feelings. And then we can start solving some of those like parts that you need to like wrench apart or not, right? And then we go from there.
Like, that's such a smart approach because sometimes we don't know what's going on. We just know that we feel weird about it.
Yes.
It's like that intuition part of us.
Yeah. And I think most people have I believe, this is maybe me being very nice or kind. I believe that most people have very good intuition. They don't listen to it necessarily very well. But the goal being that like pay attention to your intuition or pull out your hair and show me your screen. Whatever whatever works is all that will work. Yeah. You had this like interesting thing that we were talking about before where you talked about like why are people afraid to change? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I wound up perplexitying it. Perplexity is this AI platform that will help you dive in and research on a topic. And I was like, what? So why are people afraid of change? And it gave me the top 8 reasons: loss of control, fear of the unknown, loss aversion. So when we perceive the thing to be twice as the thing I was talking earlier about how like the perceived gains need to be twice as impactful as the loss. And something called endowment effect. People tend to value what they already have as more than a potential alternative. So like the thing that we don't have yet doesn't really have a lot of weight in our minds. But the thing that we're currently working on is so tangible and real. Lack of awareness or understanding. This is like, I don't know what I don't know. The sense of loss. We worked really hard to be here, so it creates grief when we need to change. Conflicting goals and habits, and interpersonal relationships. Those were the 8. But the one that really stood out to me was the grief of change. What got you here? Like, we worked so hard to get here, and so now we're hearing, oh, we have to change again. That's a loss.
And then when you pair it with, oh, I'm receiving this countless number of notifications, or I'm still taking 6 hours to do this one thing and this is not making sense, or I'm having big feelings in my case, right? Like, then of course, like there's that grief because you're like, I want to do it this way. It's been working. It's all things have been leading me to doing it this way, but I hate it.
Yeah.
Is sort of the way that I took that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That grief thing is a pretty powerful demotivator in some cases, from my perspective. And you know, sometimes again, I'm the people person, so my first inclination when a change needs to occur in operations is finding out what grief is going to be experienced. Because that's, you know, there's in my world, there's this thing called WIFM. I think everybody uses it, WIFM, from time to time, right? What's in it for me?
Tell us more. I don't know that.
Yeah. So
What's in it for
WIFM
me? Got it.
the psychological aspects of an employee, especially ones going through change, are going to wonder what's in it for them versus just following blindly. And
Right.
you know, to me, the organizations that do operational change best are the ones that have stopped to consider all aspects of that change on all the individuals in the organization. And sometimes I've seen a change will occur in an organization that actually takes a particular segment of the employee base and puts them in a position where they've got a lot more work to do. Their lives are a lot more challenging. And in order to get that buy-in to make it happen, they really need to understand the WIFM, right? If there's no WIFM, then changes aren't going to happen. So you've got to think through all of those things from an operational perspective. And, you know, again, good, solid tools can help you get there. But I also think it has to be more than just good, solid tools. I think it has to be understanding the motivations of people to stay with the status quo. And you know, I'm a ProSci certified change manager, so one of the things I always look at when I'm going forward with an organization is to say, you know, not only do you have to give them a WIFM, but it's just too easy to backslide if you're not watching over it and making sure it's happening. So you got to insert yourself into that process of the change after the change has been implemented to ensure people aren't sliding, because they will. They like the familiarity. So, and I'm sorry I got on
The
my
number
soap.
of times I've implemented a new software solution and there's always been one person who's
Yeah,
been at that organization for eons who's like, yeah, Jessi, I've heard about the latest CRM like 5 times now. I'm just
yeah,
gonna keep using just keep using the
yeah,
spreadsheet and
I love my
right.
spreadsheet.
whatever to your new CRM.
Exactly. Exactly. That happens more than we'd like to admit,
That
especially
person knows
within
stuff. And
they
that person
do.
needs to be part of that process.
And you know, that tribal knowledge that they bring could be really useful. You know, again, what's in it for them and how do you engage them as a person that is willing to step in and be a supporter of the change versus the someone who resists it. So
Mm,
And I guess I'm even, I like to think about it even earlier is like, how are you as the business leader, the owner, founder, choose your favorite title, where
mhm,
are you in leading this charge, right? Like,
mhm,
yes, you do need to bring in the person who's been around for eons. It's a very kind word. I've known a few people who I used to work next to a woman who had been at the organization longer than I'd been alive.
wow.
She started August the year before I was born. I was born in
Wow.
March. So she'd been around for a while and it was fascinating to see how I might be able to move what little ways could I move the needle for her
Mm,
where she could then get on my side because she knew that things needed to change. And I think that that's one of the important parts is like, I think most people on your team, yourself, things need to change, but like how it's daunting to sort of think about how am I going to do that?
mm,
What am I going to change to? Why? Like, not necessarily the why, but why do I need to change when it like the why of why do I need to change when I was doing just fine
mhm,
seems to also be a part of that as well, right?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and then pulling your team with you, right? Or taking your team with you to move them to that whatever that next piece
Yep,
is.
yep.
You have an awesome framework around task, outcome, and strategy. Can you
mm.
talk a little bit about it?
Oh, sure. Um, this is how I sort of bucket the types of delegation that we do as leaders. There's task-based delegation. This is really like screenshotable tasks. I heard somebody mention something about an SOP earlier. These are really tangible. Go here, do this, screenshot this, put it in this spreadsheet, and go off about your day. That's task-based delegation. It works really great for those repeatable, annoying, maybe even automatable tasks.
Mm,
Uh, Outcome-based delegation, this is when you know that you need something, but you also recognize that you're not the expert. and you hire a specialist to help you. So things like, I need my website to bring in more high quality traffic, so I'm going to hire an SEO specialist. Or my operations are getting out of control, and so I'm going to hire an OBM or a fractional COO. You're delegating the outcome that you want, and it's up to that person to come up with the how. And then there's strategy-based delegation, which is I'm handing somebody the whole arm of a business. I'm hiring a COO, I think I mentioned that earlier, sorry, a marketing director, somebody who's responsible for that whole segment of the business. And that person becomes an equal or a peer to you. In each of these types of delegations, they require different types of instruction. So clearly thanks for pulling up that slide. The task-based work needs really clear instructions with screenshots, go here, do this, touch this, off you go. Outcome-based delegation, you're giving somebody that high-level goal, pointing them to some resources, and making yourself available for questions. But again, you're trusting that person with the how. And then strategy, you're giving them again that whole arm of the business, and you become peers and thought leaders together, pushing and pulling, but giving them total ownership and leadership over that domain of theirs.
Yeah, I think when we think about change, and change being at the broader sense, and hi Joe, it's good to see you. And talking about change going from I'm needing to hire a task-based person to an outcomes-based person to a strategy person. What do we often hire first, and why?
Mm-hmm. We hire the task-based person first, a VA or even somebody who's really strong in automation. It's also the most easy thing to delegate because it's a thing that's repeatable. You can make a loom on it. You can screenshot it. It's really measurable.
Yeah.
But we often quite want that outcome-based. We start to really crave that outcome-based delegation. We want to give somebody the high-level picture and not be bothered with the weeds. And we often accidentally give that type of task to somebody who's not equipped yet and become frustrated that they're not rising to that level. Why can't my VA just be more strategic? Why can't my VA just think a little bit more big picture like me? It's so clear. Why can't they just test all their stuff and get it right the first time?
Yeah, I think
Your delegation isn't working there.
yeah, because it's because it feels like the obvious quote unquote next step is like, oh, well, once you have a task and you got that task, then of course you're going to iterate on it. And of course you're going to like test it. And of course, but like that's not their job description to do a lot of the like that. It's not even saying that they're incapable. So we're not saying that part. But that's not what their job description was saying, is that their job description was, I'm going to execute on these particular tasks that you've outlined for me.
Right. For this rate.
for this rate. Yeah.
For this rate, absolutely. I can jump into that next level with you if that's something they want. I know a lot of folks who really do love that. I just like ticking stuff off type work.
Yeah, I do too.
And they're amazing at it.
Yeah. Yeah, Carrie, I know you do a lot of VA work. Do you have any thoughts about sort of this tasks versus outcome versus strategy thought?
I honestly like having a little bit of everything in my clients so that I don't get bored with it. I mean, I have some that every single day I check their email inbox and everything, I check their calendars and make sure stuff's on the calendar from the emails. And then I have other ones that I do that outcome. I do the automations, I do the all, and then I have the strategy. I'll sit down with them for a call on Monday and okay, what do we need to do this week to get you to that next place in your business? So yeah, I don't just focus in one area. I know there are VAs that do, are just doers, which, would be the task area. But it's kept I've been in business for 3 years, and I think it keeps it more interesting by always learning new things and helping a variety of people.
I agree. I think it's kind of fun in my own business to take care of some of all three of them as well. And then, but when I hire, can I tell you about like my most recent hire that I'm very
Yes.
like, I'm excited about it, but I'm also like,
Yes.
ooh, like this could get into muddy waters. So we all do it. We don't plan to, but so I hired a VA. She schedules all of my social media for me. That's her entire job. She schedules my newsletter, she schedules my social media posts, she
Nice.
schedules. That is the thing. We did for her to be onboarded, we did a call like this, we recorded everything, and so she could make sure that she could see exactly what I was looking for. But then I decided out of nowhere, well, kind of out of nowhere, that because I have 1,000,001 like YouTube shorts or TikTok reels, whatever, short vertical videos, that I was like, I have no idea how to like make this strategy. Do you want to just like post and see what happens? We can talk about it later. And she's like, sure, I've never managed a YouTube channel before. And I was like, that's fine. I scheduled the things for you, is what she told me a couple weeks ago, right? Or a week and a half ago now. She's like, I scheduled everything for you. We're going to see how it goes. And I said, great. But I'm also realizing like my expectations for like, it needs to be amazing. It needs to be exactly like I was spitballing. So I know that I'm asking a task-based person who I've hired for my business, like truly her job is like, I don't ask her for content creation. I don't ask her for literally anything else. I ask her specifically, can you please just schedule everything? And so I'm asking her now to like have this like forethought of like when it should be signed, when everything should go up, or when everything should like what it should say, like here's the captions. I mean, I created a spreadsheet, I had a whole bunch of thoughts, and I was like, do something. But I'm also but do
I love that.
something.
Do something.
Yeah, like and so like, but I think I'm going to pat myself on the back, but also, stomp on my own toe. Is I'm like, yeah, so I know that I need to be like kind in that I have no idea what the outcomes are going to be. And I'm okay with she's doing the best that she can. But also like, Chanaye, like, can you do a better job of finding the right person to do something for you, right? Because she is going to pay money to do things. Like I'm paying money
Yeah.
for her to do things. So really I'm technically like throwing money away by
Yeah.
just having her experiment. But maybe, yeah. So I think I'm pat on the back, but also stomp on my own. Yeah.
It's so natural to take things to that next step, though. This person's clearly performing well.
Right.
And so I think that says a lot about your trust in them. And they're also willing to be experimental. And so I would commend them for their ability to step outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think she's fantastic.
Fair.
She's already proved herself, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's a part of the why we want to bring people with us, right? Is like she's fantastic. So of course I'm going to give her more responsibility. Of course I'm going to, thanks Heather, have a good day.
Bye,
Of
Heather.
course I'm going to, of course I'm going to like share more and more about my business with her and like things I'm like sort of working on. And of course, but was that the most appropriate thing for me to do? Probably not.
But as a VA, I do have that happen all the time. Somebody will hire me with one thing in mind, knowing my list of services available. But, so maybe that's not even on her list anywhere. Maybe
I
she
don't know.
literally
I have
just
no
does
idea.
social media
No idea.
management, whatever. But, so for mine, they'll hire me to just schedule their newsletter every month. And then they're like, hey, can you turn these into social media posts? Well, I don't write content. And I made very clear to all my clients that I don't write content. But I can throw their newsletter into AI and say, hey, give me 5 social media posts. I run it by my client, say, hey, does this still sound like you? As long as they say yes, then I can, because it's still pulling from their content, but I'm not having to write it. So, I'm willing to do that. I just don't want the responsibility of writing it and, determining it, because I don't want to not sound like them. And I don't want to just use AI from scratch either, because obviously then it's not going to sound like them at all. So yeah, but I do have clients that, hey, we've worked together, they don't say that outright, but hey, we've worked together for a while. Now can you do this and this and this? Like, oh, sure. So that's great that you have found somebody that you trust, that you're like, hey, let's try something new.
Yeah, I mean, I've only known her for a couple of months, but it's entertaining to
Well,
like, but
yeah.
but because Jessi and I were talking about, right, task outcome strategy, I was
Yeah.
like, huh, I'm trying to change a task-based person into an outcome-based person.
Mm.
This is right, like
But she was
just sort
willing
of
to
thinking,
try, so that was a good.
but she's willing to try, so
Yeah.
it all works out. But yeah, Ashley, you were chuckling a little bit. What were you chuckling about?
I remember. I don't know what I was talking about.
We're just constantly hilarious. The time has already passed. I love it. So many things.
Yeah. Yannick or Melissa, Coach Keisha, Rebecca, Joe, you have any thoughts about what we're talking about so far?
Well, right now at this point, I kind of am a VA transitioning into OBM, but I've had people that have, this is all I want you to do. And then maybe they do ask for something more. And I look at it, if it's not something I really am comfortable with, it's a challenge because I'm going to learn how to do it to the best of my ability. Well, that just gives me something else I can offer to the next client. Not only do I do this, but now I do that, type thing. So I think who you have is really good, and because hopefully she'll add to her list of things she can do, maybe for someone else.
Hi, Coach Keisha, CEO.
I also have to drop, folks,
Okay.
but this has been fun.
Hi,
Bye,
Scott.
Scott.
Please keep me on the list, Chanaye.
Will do. No problem.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Yeah, I think, I think with change, a part of change, because so when I work with my clients, fortunately or unfortunately, we always hire and fire 100% of the time. I have never not fired someone. And not because, like they were terrible. It's never been because of that. But because because we were up leveling everybody, right? Like the whole entire team had, because they were getting the notifications, they weren't sleeping. So a part of my work is that I'm like, you need to rest. When was the last time you had a hobby that you did it? When was the last time you saw a friend, like, and hung out? Like I ask a lot of questions about feelings, right? Like I told you, I use data too, but we start at feelings because feelings are easier to access, right?
Yes.
And because of that, I'm like, okay, so who on your team can we up level? Like, do we need to send them to training? Because you've kept them on your team for a reason, right? So who do we need to up level? Who can we send to training? Who can we get their skills leveled up so that they can take on that next task? Oh, that person that's been here for eons? Oh, they don't want to make any changes? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yep. And I'm sorry, they might
Yeah.
have to go. Right. And
That's
we're
so
gonna,
hard.
right? So like also too, we're all business owners, so we are the ones that get in the way first. I'm always in the way of my team getting their things done. So like, the question being, how do I get further out of the way? Because the notifications, I see them, but really should I be seeing them or should someone on my team be seeing them? Right? Like that's when we start thinking about like really big change, right, in the way that we run our business.
There's that grief again.
There's the grief again.
Oh, I've worked with a business owner recently who had to let go of somebody who he had for a very long time. Like from the beginning. And the business had just factually had grown beyond this person's skill set.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to let go of someone without being
Right.
a terrible person.
Yeah, like a retainer, help them find another client, you give them a package,
Right. Yeah, like one of my clients, we moved them from full-time to a contractor position because they were already doing other things on the side anyway.
Yeah.
So we just made my client just made their work, their contractor stuff, and then that person took off doing their own
Yeah.
thing. Right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Or with the other one, you know, we had to let her go. She didn't want to change. And that, you know, it's okay. Right. I think that's also a part of it is like, it's okay that all of this feels really, really messy.
Mhm.
So, you had a really great story about why you send people into a sauna. Can you tell them like why a sauna versus there's a million different tools? Why a sauna versus any other things?
It's better at scaling. You have the ability to cross home tasks, and you can really teach somebody how their individual work connects to the larger whole. Whereas in a single Trello board, it's really hard to see the big picture. You can't easily move from one area to another. It's really hard to see that big picture of how your work impacts the whole. You're just looking at your single card, and it's in that Kanban format. It's either here, or there, and it's checked off or not. I really love Asana and their ability to help you see how your work connects to that big picture. I think I've said that a couple times.
I think when you're making big change, it's always nice to start making change for like your further future, not just for your current present, your current reality, right? So sorry, you guys probably hear my dog walking around. Yeah, like now when you're making that first, like especially that first big change, I feel like is always the most like but then after that it's like, okay, so how can I change to a system that I can continue to grow into without having to have another again.
Yeah, gigantic migration. Yeah.
Yeah, because migrations are terrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What when you work with your clients, what do you think about when they're like kind of talk us through the process, right? Especially in that framework that you've been using, the task outcome and systems. Like kind of walk us through what does that look like?
I start client engagements with a deep dive. I call it an ops review. I've changed the name a couple of times. It's basically tell me everything. Tell me all the things. Tell me how your clients come to you. Tell me how your clients leave. Tell me how your staff come to you. Tell me how your staff leave. Tell me about all of your offers. Tell me where you've been. What softwares did you use? What softwares did you hate? It's like this giant list because I'm reminded of the three blind men and the elephant, and they're all trying to explain one part of the elephant to you, but they don't know none of them even collectively know what the elephant looks like. And so I try my very best to understand everything. And then I map it out. And then I start to organize things into larger chunks. Okay, here's your finance stuff. We're going to put all the finance stuff over here. Here's your HR stuff. We're going to put that all over there. We're going to start creating folders, spreadsheets. God, the spreadsheets. And then we start to move towards that goal. I don't wait for perfection. I start with that framework and then we test it. Does it work? Oh, we want to iterate now? Okay, here we go. Now we're off to the races, as opposed to just making sure it's perfect before we start.
You will never get done. I feel
No.
I call like business a working draft.
Yes.
So like we're always iterating. Like there's no remember in English class they used to tell us like, oh, you need to edit your paper, right? And you're like, oh, but I did already. And they're like, no, go edit it again. Like that's what business feels
Yeah.
like. It's just a working draft. And I think if anything, if one of the things to take away from this is that change is really about like it's okay to be still working on a draft.
Yes.
Like it's all right that it's unfinished or that it's incomplete or unfinished or not quite done. Is it working right now? Okay, cool. We'll leave it until it doesn't feel good anymore. Or you have 19,000 notifications and we'll make some changes.
Notifications are the bane of my existence. I try to ignore them as much as possible. They're just
my
like they
gosh.
suck so much time out of my day. I can't stand it.
Yeah. I think the my current notification that I'm hating right now is my email notifications. So I am writing a response email that gets sent to everyone if they email me that just says, hey, I will get back to you within about 48 hours. Just an autoresponder, just so that I can give myself a little more room for when that 10 o'clock inspiration hits and I'm, eating pretzels and like, watching TV. Oh, it's time I'll check my email now. I can just
I love
do
it.
that all. Yes.
Rebecca.
Yeah, that's a lot of emails.
Incredible.
It's incredible. But
That's across 3 accounts, mind you.
Yeah, fair. Still.
but even but like again, right? Like I feel like emails for me are my notifications from hell, like that I do not like.
I just find personally because I'm a ghostwriter and I specialize in emails, right?
Mhm.
And I just find if your email is not interesting enough for me to open, then that goes into my swipe file of why did I not open this? Which is
Huh.
just, the everything else tab of my Gmail account.
Yeah. You go there in order to find subject titles not to write.
Yes.
That's actually quite genius.
It's like reverse psychology for you being a better writer. Like if you open it, you ask yourself why. If you clicked away before you finished it, then you find out where it lost you.
Smart.
It's like teaching yourself how to write better emails without even realizing it.
Chanaye, I have a question for you. Why do you feel like you need an autoresponder when you're responding within 48 hours?
I don't know if I will respond in 48 hours. That is.
But then aren't you setting yourself up for trouble if you're telling them you're going to respond in 48 hours?
The goal is to set it up. The goal is that most of the time, the autoresponder really says, I check my emails once a day. I try to get back to you within 48 hours, but you probably have a couple of questions. Here's the main, like it's like sort of an FAQ autoresponder. If you're looking for me here, this is where you can find it. If you're looking for this information, this is where you can find it, so that they can choose their own adventure in them before I get back to them. Especially because lately, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing, but I feel like our emails need to be more about like answer. We have too much email that's asking for too many things in one. And maybe that's maybe that's my own ADHD, like showing up. But it's been a fight for me to be like, you asked 9 different questions and they are all over the spectrum. And so now I actually have to think about my response and take the time to respond, which I'm not opposed to doing, but like I don't want to just like, and I also hate it when somebody notices that there's 9 questions in there, but they only answer the first one, because that drives me absolutely bonkers as well. Right? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Melissa, for validating me. So I did need that validation. So I want to respond, but maybe in my FAQ autoresponder, I can answer the majority of your questions.
Huh.
Yeah. 107K is you may as well just get rid of the account. I wouldn't even bother.
Declare email bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I archived a whole lot. Like I said,
Seriously?
I got down to 9K in a week because she just had stuff as old as 2014, I think, and this was last year. So.
Oh yeah, that means that stuff is too
But she's
old.
in insurance, so she's afraid to get rid of anybody's stuff because if it has
anybody in that
I'm like,
compliance space.
okay, so at least let me archive it so that number goes down. You can still access it, but it's not in the inbox. So yeah.
Hi, Kojo.
People say to me like, oh, is 3,000 or 4,000 very many to have to clean up? I'm like, no. Have to do it over 100? No, I could get Stitch on there. But.
Rebecca, I have an email that is just specifically for like newsletters and things like that come subscriptions, if you will. And it ends up I have nowhere near 9,000, but it was quite the lift to clean out I had 4,000 emails in there. And just learned about archiving and what that can and cannot do for me. So yeah, emails are the notifications that I hate. Do you have a notification that any other notifications besides emails that people are hating?
The first thing I do when I install project management tools is turn off the email notifications, because the whole point is to get you out of your email. So your PM should not be sending you emails.
I've turned off general email notifications.
Yeah.
I'm going to visit that inbox on a regular basis throughout my day. Why do I need a million interruptions in addition to that?
Yeah.
I get 0 email notifications. I've killed those.
Nice.
Scary, but freeing.
Yes.
But then, right, a part of the change is like, okay, so I need to make sure that I'm in that system where the email notifications would come from. I'm in that system so that I can still push it along, right? Like we get emails because we're like, oh, I want you to notify me that I need to go in there, but no, so now I need to make it a part of my day that I'm going in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jessi's just training her clients to use the tools.
Yep. I had a client go live yesterday. It was very exciting. And I rejoiced when I got my first Asana task from them. Good job. And they didn't email me.
They didn't email you first?
They sent it through the Asana account. Perfect.
It's the little things.
That's right.
Because then you get little rejoices like that, right?
Yeah.
No email first, no questions first, no anything. All good. So we're heading towards the end of our time together. What are some final thoughts, final interests, things that you've been thinking about for just managing change, changing teams around technology, software? Any thoughts?
Been working through how to steer folks away from micromanagement.
Ooh.
And I really have been, because I'm all about delegation, right? My ultimate foe, what is this word, villain, is the micromanager who won't delegate. And so I've been like really trying to study them and learn, why do people micromanage? There has to be a payoff for it. We don't just do things that suck generally.
Hopefully.
And I think it has to do with the tiny glimmer of positive reinforcement we get the first time we micromanage. And then we just forever chase it after that. Like when we have a new staff member show us their work before we let them go, and it's in this disguise of training them, and it has this positive impact on us. It's almost a little bit like a high, and then we just keep chasing that. That's my theory of why people become chronic micromanagers. It's almost like an addiction. That's my weird rabbit hole. Me and ChatGPT are talking about it a lot.
I like this. I like this. I like this rabbit hole. This is a cool one.
Yeah.
I would postulate that is coming a little bit from that space of grief that we've been kind of coming back on and off again.
I see. I'm not needed anymore.
Or needed in the same way, which is what she
interesting.
does.
Yeah.
So Jessi, what's your take on the fact that there are different worldviews? There are those who function in, we'll say, shades of gray, all the way from white to black. And then there are those who function in a more binary way of right and wrong, or black and white. And my personal experience is I've encountered more micromanagers in the category who is more binary, because they feel there's a right way to do things, not just to get to the outcome, but to actually the actual process steps to get to that outcome.
Yes.
And so they have a hard time letting go of the process, even if the outcome is equally good when done differently.
I think these folks are really hard on themselves when they make a mistake too.
Oh yeah.
Like it is the worst thing to make a mistake. The actual worst. not sure I have an answer for if I think one way or the other about is it gray versus binary.
Mhm.
I just think that folks that do micromanage have a hard time with perfection
Mm.
and really need a lot of visibility into something. Like I like to say one of my best and worst bosses was a massive micromanager. Like needed to be CC'd on every email. I have stories of my friend, we had to, whenever we called out, we needed to send an email to the team saying that we called out and why we called out, like sick or something. And my friend said, "Oh, I can't come in today. I'm nauseous." And the supervisor's response was, "I think you meant nauseated."
Oh,
I
Jesus.
never forget this. I will never forget this. But I think what she really needed was just visibility. Did the email go out? That was like her way of knowing that things were happening, is that she saw activity in her inbox.
So what made her one of your best bosses? Because that sounds a little.
She also taught me a lot about what it means to trust others. Like from the being on that other end of that, I felt so. I felt like I had to, when I first had my first job in managing other people, I caught myself doing a lot of what she did. And so through her example, I was able to walk back that micromanager within myself or recognize it earlier on than, being in my 60s like she was. She taught me a lot about what not to do. She's also incredibly smart. She taught me a lot just generally about the world.
They usually are. They're usually incredibly smart. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with
Right.
that, per se. Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure to get you out on time. Thank you, Jessi, for being
My pleasure.
awesome. What will happen next is you will get a series of emails from me. I will get the recording out to you. Jessi, can you tell them a little bit about your freebie that you're giving to?
Yeah, I put together a delegation framework toolkit, which includes examples of how to literally delegate the task-based way, the outcome-based way, and the strategy-based way, and when you can use which type, best practices, those types of things. And so also how to know if you're doing a good job as a delegator. It's a little checklist in there.
Oh, thank you for putting that together. So that will be in the email. You'll get an email from me in a couple of hours. That's going to have that, and then you'll get the recording of this tomorrow. I do a fireside chat every second Wednesday of the month, except for next month. In May, it will be May 7th instead, with a woman named Anitra Dean, who is talking with me, and we're talking about networking and business development. So I will make sure to inform y'all, but essentially it's just like this. So I hope to see y'all. I thank you for coming. Jessi, you're absolutely fantastic per usual.
Thank
This
you.
was great. Have an amazing rest of your day and happy Wednesday.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting us.
Thanks, ladies.